Three members of the same family pass away suddenly. The deaths result in Charles Albanese to acquire hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of inheritance, real estate, and even becoming a key leader of a family business. Born Charles Michael Albanese on June 13, 1937, in Chicago, Illinois, he was the older son of Michael Albanese Sr., an entrepreneur. Little is known about his early years, but people who knew him back in the day said he was a spoiled kid who wanted to be famous. They said he was ambitious and wanted to make as much money as he could with as little effort as possible. In the mid-60s, he was working as a car dealer for a company called Norwood Motors, which was based in Morton Grove. Albanese's first crime was breaking into the home of Emmett Farrell, age 61, a bus driver. He and an unknown accomplice pretending to be detectives stole $160 from Farrell's car. A neighbor wrote down his license plate about a week later, which the Farrells used to identify Albanese. He was arrested and charged with armed robbery and auto theft under the name Charles Romaine. He was convicted and got 5 years probation. After his conviction, he and his first wife split up after 6 years of being together, and he moved to Wisconsin with his 3 daughters. He later married again. His second wife was Virginia Mueller. Though little is known about their relationship, Albanese married his second wife in Las Vegas on Labor Day weekend, 1972. The couple divorced the following year, and his second ex-wife filed 2 complaints against him in 1977 and 1980 for failure to pay child support totaling $1,475. At this time, his salary as president of Dialite Die Casting, which was owned by his father, was $60,000 a year. That amount is equal to around $280,000 in today's time. In 1978, he moved to Spring Grove with his family, where he became known among neighbors as a wealthy man who liked to show off his wealth and power. Albanese is said to have owned several expensive automobiles, including a Cadillac. He and his ex-wife and daughters took annual trips to either Florida or Jamaica. A couple of years later, in 1980, Charles began to make frequent visits to the Leisure Village, a retirement community in Fox Lake, where his ex-wife's mother, 69-year-old Marion Mueller, lived with her own mother, 89-year-old Mary Lampert. When doing so, he would often bring with him small gifts, such as jewelry and trinkets, and would often take them out to eat whenever he could. During these visits, he would begin to gradually convince Lampert to transfer her financial assets to her daughter, in the process completely bypassing her other daughter and son. Then at the same time, behind his family's back, Charles used a family business connection to contact the operator of a metal plane company in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, to whom he would sometimes sell scrap zinc to ask what would be the most efficient way to get rid of some pests in his home. The operator proceeded to supply Albanese with arsenic and was shown how to use it. The operator was completely oblivious to Charles' true intentions. Now with arsenic at his disposal, over the next few months, Charles administered microdoses of the poison in Mueller's food. The first death occurred on the 6th of August, 1980, when Mueller was rushed to McHenry Hospital with diarrhea and violent vomiting. She succumbed to her illness the following day, and her cause of death was determined to be a heart attack. 12 days later, Lampert contracted a similar illness and was transported to St. Therese Memorial Hospital in Waukana, where she succumbed to what was reported to be a natural death. The sudden deaths of the 2 women raised concerns among the local population, and rumors spread that the community water and food supply was contaminated. The Lake County Health Department initiated a full investigation into the sewage system and restaurant, but all tests were negative. The investigation was eventually ended, and life returned to seemingly normal. As a result of the death of the pair, the estates of Mueller and Lampert, valued at approximately $150,000, were transferred to the ex-wife of Albanese. Following that tragedy, on the 4th of September 1980, Albanese attended a tense meeting with his father, during which he declared that he did not want Charles to remain in the company. The elder Albanese then changed his mind, only demoting him to the position of treasurer. Albanese expressed his gratitude to his father by bringing him homemade cookies to the workplace and snacks to his younger brother. However, only 4 days after this gesture, Michael Jr. was hospitalized with severe vomiting and nausea. Both Michael Sr. and his son were hospitalized multiple times in the following months due to violent illnesses. Michael Sr. eventually passed away on the 16th of May, 1981, at the age of 69. Albanese inherited his father's estate of $267,000, as well as increased control of the family business. While performing an examination of Michael Sr.'s body, coroner Alvin Querhammer absorbed arsenic in the serum of the deceased. Subsequently, he contacted the Lake County coroner Robert H. Babcox. Babcox had conducted the investigation of the death of Mueller and Lampert the previous year and realized that they too had relatives in the Albanese clan. As a joint task force, each of the coroner's offices in the 2 counties were authorized by Virginia Albanese for the exhumation and testing of their relatives' bodies. Both autopsies revealed a high concentration of arsenic. Following this discovery, McHenry Police Chief George Passanelli initiated a background check on the entire Albanese family, including Charles. As the investigators looked into his background, they discovered his criminal past and uncovered his possible motives for the murders, which was financial gain. They also later find out that he had purchased arsenic from the operator of the metal plating company. The task force was also given information from a travel agent that Mr. Albanese had scheduled another Thanksgiving holiday trip to Jamaica, this time with his ex and Charles' mother, Clara. Concerned that Albanese would go after his own mother because of her $500,000 worth of assets, the investigators barged into Mr. Albanese's office in McHenry. On November 18, 1981, Mr. Albanese was arrested and charged with the murders, his brother's attempted murder, and the theft of company stock. Because 2 of the 3 murders were in different jurisdictions, Albanese will be charged in 2 separate trials, one in Lake County for the murders of Lampert and Mueller, while the second involved the murder of his father and the attempted murder of his brother. The first would be the Lake County trial, in which he pleaded not guilty on all charges. However, due to the pre-trial publicity surrounding the case, the trial venue was moved to Bloomington and was scheduled for May 1982. After an extensive deliberation for just over 7 hours, the jury found Albanese guilty on all counts on May 18th. The prosecution went for the death sentence, saying that despite his lack of any serious criminal history, he deserved to die since he had shown no remorse for his actions. Just 2 days later, Albanese was sentenced to die in the electric chair. As the sentence was read out by the judge, he was a shell of a man who had shown no visible emotion and appeared to be tired of the whole sentencing process. That same October, he was tried for Michael Sr.'s murder and his brother's attempted murder. Charles claimed that someone else random was behind the murders. His lawyer tried to get the charges thrown out because of circumstantial evidence. But on October 26, he was found guilty and sentenced to death once again. He was also sentenced to 60 years for his brother's attempted murder and 5 years for each count of theft. In the following years, Albanese attempted to have his sentence appealed and convictions overturned, but all of them were denied. On September 20th, 1995, he was executed via lethal injection at the Stateville Correctional Center. At this time, he was still protesting his innocence and accusing the authorities of covering up the real facts of the case. For his last meal, he requested an assortment of food, including prime rib, baked potato, garlic bread, coffee, Coca-Cola, and pistachio ice cream. Albanese made no final statement, but he said thank you to the warden right before he was put to death.